And look at that sunflower. That's a volunteer sunflower. I think it's a Maximilian sunflower. There's two of them side by side right there. Welcome back to Whitt Acres. Today we're going to be taking a tour of the botanical paradise that I'm creating in my backyard. So we're going to go out and see what the gardens are looking like right now. And Echo Pup's going to come along with us. Huh, Pop? Starting here on the patio, we did get the rose bed in and I got them all pruned back. These are the Oh So Easy line. We have the Urban Legend, the Paprika, and the Lemon Zest. And they're just not putting on any blooms yet, so hopefully they're just settling in and they'll start blooming up here maybe by the end of summer or more likely next year. Whoa, I do see a bloom. I see a bud on the Paprika, so we might be able to get some blooms here before the end of the year with these new roses. The New Guinea Impatient looks beautiful all season long. You just have to keep it watered every day, sometimes twice a day, because they love water. I was able to build another patio waterfall pond right here on the patio again. I put these screens up because I added some koi in here, and the two koi seem to want to keep jumping out. So I might have to switch out the koi, but this patio pond I wanted up here just so it would bring the water even closer, and you'd have the sound up here even louder, and would possibly be able to see some fish whenever we sit up on the patio where we do most of our sitting. Alright, go Pop. I also got these 6 pots put in on the steps. I did have these on the driveway last year, but I brought them down here because our driveway is pretty much getting used more this year. So we have these pots with the Vista bubblegum petunia on either end and 3 sweet potato vines in the middle. So hopefully they'll all fill out, get real dense and drapey, and we'll see how they look by the end of the year here. We're not quite finished with the decorative pond out here, and we are still filling it up with water as well, but I think it's looking pretty nice. We have the impatient hedge coming in beautifully along the bottom there. The silver dicandra falls falling off the broken pot stuffed in there. Cold frame still has lettuce and some radish and onions it's producing, and even a sweet pea popping up there in the top. I'm waiting on the dahlias to start blooming. They do have some buds up there, but really no blooms. We also have the gazanias in there that aren't putting off any blooms yet, so there's still some more color to come. We have the Triangularis oxalis right here, perennial that's blooming. Hopefully we can get that to fill in this whole area actually, like the petunia, the Vista petunias are doing over on this side. Just gorgeous blanket of petunias. We have the lemongrass up there, which is getting bigger than I thought it was gonna, but I don't mind. It's kind of blurring the line of where the edge of the pond is, and that's exactly what it's supposed to do, just like the creeping Jenny right there doing its job. And then the banana plant back there. Look how big this banana is. This is supposed to be a hardy banana, so I've plugged it in up here, and I'm planning on just mulching like really heavy, just putting a big pile of mulch here, whole wheelbarrow load, and seeing if I can get this to come up next year. I'll do some research. Let me know down below if you think I should dig this up and try and store it over winter in the garage. But for now, I think I'm just going to try and keep it in the ground. We'll see what happens. It's supposed to be good down to zone 5, and we're zone 6 here, so it should be fine. I have a dahlia just stuffed in the water right there because I cut it for an arrangement and didn't want the red. We have some portulaca blooming, some more Vista petunia. A volunteer gourd right here is climbing up on the wall, and I can't cut it, so we're going to let that keep climbing. This hibiscus is gorgeous. I picked this hibiscus up to kind of have a nice focal point here on the back side of the waterfalls, and I didn't realize it had this style of bloom. That is a gorgeous kind of bloom in there. A lot going on. Has the stamens in there. Nice. Step across. You can see the water is clearing up beautifully. You can see all the way down to the bottom now. And look at that sunflower. That's a volunteer sunflower. I think it's a Maximilian sunflower. There's 2 of them side by side right there. And we have a jaguar marigold at the base. But that sunflower is looking beautiful right now. Not to be outshined by the sunflower, this gladiola is coming in strong. It has over 20 bloom stalks on it right now, and they're all coming into full bloom right now, which is just a super large flower. Just a gorgeous gladiola blooming. Perfect timing right now with that sunflower. Also gorgeous in its own right is this bed of portulaca. We're doing a morning tour right now. It's late morning, So the portulaca is not fully open right now, but the blooms cover the whole entire base right there. Gorgeous backdrop of cosmos that all volunteered in place. And then we have the Buddleia butterfly bush blooming. That's a Pugster butterfly bush, Buddleia davidii, something like that. Just entered one of those into a cut flower competition yesterday. It's all getting judged today, so we'll see how it does, as well as one of those gladiolas. We also have the hosta blooming and some zinnias right there on the corner. And I will be doing another water feature here with that pump coming in, so it won't stay as a hose in a flower pot for long. Well, it might be for long. But you can see the pond is clear all the way to the bottom. You can see the lilies down there that I have. Hopefully going to survive until I can get them into place. We got the destination rock in, so you can walk all the way out over the top of the water. And I think it's looking really nice right now. Also, from this view, you can look up at the barn, and we got the duck house moved. Well, we got it built and moved into place for now. So now I just have to get the door on and to get the fence in around it. Got the chickens in the left pen and the barn, and then the ducks are in the right pen. So we'll move the ducks out there into their new house and pen, and we'll be able to move the baby turkey up into the barn. Hey puppy. So I keep getting a lot of flack from the family about this big sweet autumn clematis, that it's all green all summer long and not really doing anything. But I think it's gonna be worth it in the fall whenever it blooms all white and smells beautifully. So we'll see what happens whenever that starts blooming, but nobody likes it right now. Over here by the faucet, we have a beautiful batch of gladiolas blooming. These are going kind of wild. I'm gonna need to actually stake these, which would make them look a lot nicer, being like straight up and down and in a row instead of all leaning into a corner. But I just got the ropes on there so they don't all snap. This one did snap, so I should throw that in some water. But one of the trellises fell down and hit that one, so it wasn't the wind. It might have been the wind knocking the trellis down, but the trellis hit the gladiola. Coming up the trellis, we have the purple hyacinth bean vine. That is this right here, and it is going to be gorgeous. I love the purple flowers on it and the red beans that I get afterwards. But if you look here, we have a volunteer. That is not a purple hyacinth bean vine. That is what I had here last year, which is the Mina Labota Jungle Queen. So I have no problem with that coming up, and maybe I can get some seeds off of that to do something with that next year. But for the most part, it's going to be the purple hyacinth bean vine on here and other places in the garden, trying to have some consistency this year. And hopefully when that blooms, they'll all be blooming and looking good. We also have a beautiful yellow gladiola blooming here as well, and a white one with some purple in there, purplish pink in the center. In the ramp bed, we have the hostas in full bloom. Well, pretty much everywhere the hostas are blooming right now. We have some dahlias coming in nice. All different colors of dahlias in this area here. I just cut some for an arrangement. I'll show you a little bit later because I really like the arrangement I made. We have more hostas, Vista bubblegum petunias, and a very beautiful thick drift of these French dwarf marigolds. Just gorgeous flower on here. And they smell beautiful too. And capping off the bed is a big pink zinnia. Another portulaca at the base. Now we're heading down to the vegetable garden where the pollinator patch is in full bloom. Look at all these gladiolas popping up. We got some beautiful, spiders. Pollinator patch is in full bloom right now. The butterfly bush is actually finishing up. You can see how it starts on the tips and then it blooms backwards towards the stem, which is completely different from the gladiola, which starts at the bottom of the stem and blooms up to the tip. Look at this pink one though. It's gorgeous, and it even has a double bloom on this one. A double stalk bloom. So that one's just beautiful. The pinks get pretty tall. I think the pinks, if you can kind of see, get a lot taller than the white and the yellow that's over there. So this is pushing 5.5 feet with the pink, but the whites are actually falling over. They're only about 4 feet. This one's a gorgeous pure white. Look at that. Doesn't have any of the pinks in it. Pure white there. We also still have calla lilies blooming all over the property, looking beautiful. More coming too. Most of them are this pink and darkish red, darkish pink color, but I do have a couple that is like a creamsicle orange, which is really nice. More hostas blooming, calla lilies blooming, and calendula there along the fence. This little corner's working out really nice. We are in the vegetable garden though, so we have a little squash or pumpkin popping out here of the pollinator patch, rambling into the path. No problems. Ooh, we have a yellow one that fell over. So I want to get that up. If they're gonna start falling over, then I want to be able to just cut them off and put them into an arrangement. So I'll probably be getting that one out of here. The chamomile is flowered up beautifully, and it is working out well for arrangements too, with these little yellow pods and the little white accents. It's just a gorgeous plant. I don't know which one this is. It's a little bit further behind, but this gladiola is getting ready to pop. A volunteer zinnia there, right there in the pathway. More volunteer calendula. We have fennel here going to flower, little yellow flowers. I didn't do as well as I wanted to with my onions. Like you can see, they are struggling. Some of them are bulbing up, but they seem to be a little high on the soil. This whole patch here was pretty bad. This patch did a little bit better. They're still going, but I got to get this volunteer squash out of here because it is just taking over and shadowing my whole onion bed. I don't know what it is. Squash bug. But I think it's got a fruit on it. There's a fruit. It's like a long pumpkin or something. So we're gonna have to get this off of my onion bed. You can see it's all tangled up with its tendrils, grabbing onto my onions, grabbing onto my marigold. I'm gonna have to get in there and actually do a little bit of work on this. Left to go too long. You can see how big it's getting. This is just, if you remember watching all the other garden tours, this is just a small patch of squash growing out of the bottom, the outside bottom of the raised bed here. So it's not even in the raised bed, it's in the walking path, which I don't even have a walking path. This bed's shaped like a J, so I can get in the keyhole and work. But that's all filled in now with volunteer pumpkin and squash. The cabbage, on the other hand, is all bulbing up beautifully. Look at that blushing color, gorgeous. So they're getting little heads on them. They are getting some bug damage, but that's all right. The bugs got to eat too. We have this beautiful sunflower that we moved into place, is blooming. Doesn't seem to want to bloom long, but that has a nice big head on it. If I can get to the seeds before the birds do. You know what? This one's for the birds. I'm gonna leave this one for the birds, and I'll collect seeds off of a different one. Because this is a volunteer. It's not the most impressive plant. So yeah, we'll just leave this one go to seed, and the birds can have a snack down here. This one cabbage is starting to head up pretty nicely. It's probably about a 4-inch ball right now. That's a pretty nice ball too. We have bug damage, and wow, this one's getting completely covered. I gotta thin that out so we're not completely covering up some cabbages. I guess one's probably getting stressed. That's why it's not doing as well. All the other ones were covering it up. So it looks like I gotta harvest some cabbage leaves for the animals. Look at this broccoli. This is a good year for my broccoli. That is nice. I gotta get in here and harvest this before the day gets hot. But this is nice broccoli. Like this can keep going, and this can keep going. You can see how tight that still is. But that one's turning yellow. That one's splitting open. That one's kind of getting some air between them. You can see the air gaps. I'm gonna want to harvest that before they start opening up. This is actually still pretty tight, so I'm gonna look at the weather, but I think if it's not too hot tomorrow, this one can keep going too. Now for the 4-foot gorgeous tango leaf lettuce that I never knew would get this big, but it is a volunteer tango leaf lettuce. All the way down here is the base. I don't even know. There's a big old stalk on it, if you can see that. But I put this little obelisk around it to hold it in place, and it just took off straight up this 4-foot obelisk. Now it's branching out into a beautiful flowering structure. You can see all the tiny little flowers on it. Real gorgeous. And you can see its partner here, the dark red tango leaf lettuce, is also just as big. I just didn't have an obelisk on it to hold it up straight, but it's already going to seed. So I want to come in here, pluck these, just pluck one like that, and then you would see all the lettuce seed in there. So that is all lettuce seed, and I'll be able to plant that for my fall garden or save it for next year as well. So I'm going to be getting in here and harvesting some of these seeds. I have another big bed of volunteer squash that I pulled out of the J bed and put into here when I filled up the J bed, so I didn't lose any of these plants, and I am glad I did, because let's get in here and see what's going on. Look at this. Not sure what's going on. Sounds like a chicken's either laying an egg or getting attacked. That goes up there to investigate. Maybe laying an egg. I have at least 5 chickens laying eggs right now, so they're right in the time where they're all starting to come in, so I don't know if I'm getting a new chicken to start laying eggs. So Echo's up there to check it out. But anyway, back inside this squash, look at those cute little pumpkins. White with yellow stripes. But look at this one over here. Look at this big old daddy. It's like a white long pumpkin. I don't know if that'll yellow up at all, but it definitely has the whiter hue to it. Another little one growing right beside it. We got a yellow striped gourd in there. So a bunch of different stuff growing in here. Another little long yellow pumpkin. That one's doing good. We have a white gourd out here. A zucchini. There's zucchini growing on here. And we have some weeby tiny little white pumpkins. That's cool. More pumpkin over there. So yeah, I am glad that I saved this batch of volunteer squash, because they're doing pretty good. I have some romaine going to flower right here. I left the one on the end just get real big, and I wanted to collect some seed from it. But we also have some kale looking good. The chard's all looking good in the high density bed. More tango leaf lettuce that I've been harvesting and giving to the animals. All the romaine as well. I can come in here and get these beets for the pigs now. I'm not a big fan of beets, no matter really what you do with them. You could roast them, I guess, and I can eat them, but it's definitely not something I'm looking forward to. These beets will be good for the pigs. This big volunteer gourd that we left here growing in the high density bed is kind of taking over, but it's also producing some things that I can toss in for decorations and for pig feed. This volunteer gourd that we left grow in the high density bed is producing some fruit and food as well for the animals. We can give those to the chickens, the pigs, the geese, and the ducks, and the turkey, and I can eat some too. This Brussels sprout isn't really doing anything. I've never grown Brussels sprouts successfully before, so we're gonna see what this does. I have some more in the straight bed over there, but this one was just pretty much a trap crop. Carrots are doing really well. We pulled some of these carrots out from my brother's dog. My brother's and his new wife's dog. But yeah, the ground is so hard here. Like, we just have cracks, and it's just so dry. I just haven't been watering out here because I can't keep up with the no rain. So we're just seeing a garden, which is doing pretty good. I'll give it that. But we are not watering here. We haven't got rain here for weeks. So in this vegetable garden, we haven't had rain for, I want to say, at least 2 weeks. We did have a heavy downpour after a month-long drought. All of end of May to June, we didn't get any rain. And then we had about 2 inches of rain maybe a couple weeks ago, beginning of July, and nothing since. So it's really hard to keep consistent watering going on here because Mother Nature's not helping out at all. Down in here we have some banana peppers growing. They're doing good. I picked a lot of small ones off of these already to give to the animals, and just to give the plant more time to get some size on it before it's producing some heavy fruit load. I also have the mortgage lifter tomatoes. Get that sucker. Mortgage lifter tomatoes coming up the trellis here with all the calendula behind it. A little lemon basil in there that we can pull the
flower buds off so it can branch out and keep going, not go to seed. And I can also sniff my hand now because, oh, it smells so good. I have a little cucumber here that's still trying its best. Not sure if it's producing anything, but I did get it onto the trellis and it's trying. So I want to make sure that it's not producing a little baby cucumber down here in the grass to where it'll stop the growth of the plant before it starts producing actually good cucumber beetles. Now to talk about my giant pumpkin growing effort. This is my Dill's Atlantic Giant, which I'm trying to get a giant pumpkin off of. It's growing out pretty well. The leaves are a lot smaller than some of the better genetic seeds are. This is just Walmart Dill's Atlantic Giant, so see what it gets, but I'm training it out in a Christmas tree pattern, long tip, wider at the bottom. And we do have a couple little pumpkins starting here, so we'll see if we can get one to set. I'm going to train it out and start making a curve with the vine. I'll show you on this one. This is my second Dill's Atlantic Giant, and it's blooming a lot of male flowers right now. It has a long secondary coming off this way, and it also has a pumpkin starting to set there. That's just a female flower. That's not an actual pumpkin yet, but once the flower opens, gets pollinated, and then closes, within about 5 days you'll know if this pumpkin starts growing or if it wasn't pollinated correctly. And then once that pumpkin is visibly growing, you know you have a set pumpkin, and you can start working on the vine to accommodate that pumpkin. So my vine comes around and curves towards this pumpkin, but if that pumpkin sets like I want it to, I'll be bending this. I don't want to do it now because it's the morning, and you always want to move squash and gourd vines in the hot afternoon when everything's nice and pliable. But you would pick this vine up and just start turning it that way, so you have kind of a U shape with a pumpkin on the end. And as that pumpkin grows, it has more flexibility in the vine, and you won't snap your pumpkin off the vine. Here's some backup dills as well. These ones on the hill here, I'm just going to probably grow 3 pumpkins on the vine instead of trying to get one big one. I'll save these 2 to try and get the one big one, and then these are just backups because they're already producing some pumpkins. We come in here, this one looks like it's about to set, so there's a good size on that. And then if we come around, this pumpkin did set. It's already growing a little bit bigger. That's been a few days since that flower's been open and closed. And then this one just closed yesterday, so we'll see if that one's starting to set as well. Once the day warms up, I want to spread these 2 plants out because I have one there and one there. So I want to try and get a little bit of space in between them so they have nice airflow between the leaves and they're not getting all too crowded and get a bacteria infection in the fall. This gourd, I believe this is a bushel gourd here, and it is coming towards my dill, so I'm gonna have to train that one away this afternoon as well. And I got to get this live trap out of the garden and up to the barn because we have something taking my chickens. I'm missing 3 chickens. No trace at all. But here, let's look into this because this is also a volunteer squash. So once you start gardening, you'll actually start building up your seed bank in your area, and if you don't use poison every year, you'll be able to reap the benefits of volunteers. And volunteers produce so well in comparison. Look at this. Volunteers produce so well in comparison to seed started plants by yourself in a cell. So look at that growth. I already have 2 really nice sized pumpkins on here, as well as 2 more growing over here on this side. This volunteer is doing awesome. I don't know why it's all white. And look, the weed's even being a trap crop in there. Japanese beetle's going after the weed, not my squash. It's doing awesome. Now we still get bugs. So if we look here, that is the squash bug sign of eggs. So I do wipe these off as often as I can, as often as I see them. I don't go crazy looking under every single leaf, but if we do, you'll find one of those eggs hatched, and that is a baby aphid. They can be gray bodied like that or red bodied. You want to just smush him too, and there, a lot more egg sacs. So I don't do any spraying in the gardens. I don't spray what I eat. So these all crops are just diversely planted, with the exception of a lot of squash, because I do a lot of squash and gourds. But I do diversely plant my cabbage, my broccoli with squash and onions and fennel. And then we have leeks in here. I don't even know what this is. That's a weed. It's got to be a weed. No. That might be a bean. I think I planted a bean in here. So we have everything growing in here. Here's an artichoke. Artichoke, lettuce. We have marigolds as well. Calendula around. So there's just a lot of stuff through here to help keep the diversity up and not do a monocrop system where the bugs come in and wipe everything out. Hopefully it's working out. Well, it's working out right now, so hopefully it keeps working out for me. We also have another big old zucchini to harvest here. Did you see that bee climb in there? Whoa, he's working. The bees love the yellow. Gotta get this zucchini out of here. It didn't make it. Just go ahead and twist that on out. We'll give that to the pigs because that didn't make it. This was a volunteer portulaca. I don't know how it got down in here because this is all fresh compost. So I don't know what happened, but I'm gonna leave it go. There's no problem having some portulaca in here. This is basil. Got a little basil in there, calendula. This is a geranium kiss tomato that's not doing amazingly. I would like to have some of those. I'm tired of buying grape tomatoes, but if that one starts doing good, that's a really good tomato. And then we have some more Brussels sprouts, which it's way too hot for Brussels sprouts, but I already had them started. I threw them in, and we'll see if they produce anything. If not, they're also a good trap crop. These are my cucumbers, and I'm trying to get them long enough that they'll actually climb on out, but I have a pumpkin attacking them. Got a pumpkin. Yep, got a pumpkin smashing my cucumber. We'll try and, you don't want to move your cucumbers during the cold day either. But yeah, I'm trying to get things done. So we have another cucumber in here. Trying to get some sun from this pumpkin covering it up. Trying to get these pumpkins to go outside like these ones. Trying to get it to ramble outside of the box. I don't want to fill the whole box up with pumpkin vine. So looks like we have a big smile pumpkin set right there, and hopefully that one sets too. We'll see if we can get a backup large pumpkin for some decoration and some bragging rights. I have a couple friends that are trying to grow some big pumpkins, so I'm trying to beat them. They look pretty good. I have another couple little zucchinis in there growing, 3 of them on that small little plant. I'm gonna come in here and do some pruning. I'm gonna have to cut some of these big leaves back to give the rest of the bed some sun. Okay, those are flies. I thought they were aphids. They're just flies. We're doing all right. My pippin pepper is looking gorgeous. Look at this thing. It's got nice 4 heads, 5 heads, 6 heads. 6 tops on that to be producing some nice snacking peppers. The row on the outside of the garden is producing some sunflowers. I also plugged in 72 more dwarf zinnias. You can see they're just tiny little sticks, but I did have to get them out of the tray or they were gonna die. So I plugged in a bunch of those dwarf zinnias, and we'll see if they produce anything. And then we just have some color going down, some sunflowers that are starting to bloom. Nothing real crazy on this borderline yet. I'm thinking next year I'm going to do a cut flower garden on the outside of the veggie garden fence here. That way I'll have stuff to make arrangements with without actually feeling so bad about cutting flowers out of the landscape. I don't like making arrangements because then I have to cut beautiful flowers out of the landscape that I selected to have bloom in that exact spot. So if I can get a cut flower garden going, then I'll be able to make more arrangements with a lot less guilt. The Royal Empress tree is getting massive. We're sitting at about, I would say, 9 feet right now. First year growth, cut down to the bottom in the spring, and it is just beautiful tree. Massive leaves, 2 feet across, 10-inch hands, 20 inches. We're looking at 28 to 30-inch leaf right there. That is just beautiful. I love this tree. More creeping Jenny down here that I harvest for the pond. It's really nice to have, so I can't spray this area and get all these weeds out of here because then I'll kill my plants that I want. So sometimes you just have some weeds in your garden, and that's okay. These gourds are doing pretty good here, but the rest of the squash mound is not as impressive as it was last year at this time. I did get it in a lot later, and the soil is definitely not as good, well as mended. So we'll see what we get this year, but I do want to put a lot more effort into this spot next year to do a lot better with my squash and gourds. It's a big area and I'd like to take advantage of it. The volunteer sunflowers down at the end though, they're loving it. But surprisingly, the garden is doing pretty well, looking pretty lush and green without getting a ton of water this year. Really very little water at all. You can see even in the butterfly bush that doesn't even like to be watered often, you can see the stress in it from being too dry. So it's been a little bit hard this year with the garden trying to keep everything watered, but it's different every year. Some years you got too much water and you blow up pumpkins that you're trying to grow real big. Other years you have no water. Right behind Puppy here, I harvested a bunch of flowers from the gardens and made a nice big centerpiece arrangement. I was going to enter this into a competition for flowers, but only members were allowed to enter the design portion. So we took some cut flowers in, but this was something I had in mind of making, so I wanted to make it anyway, even though I couldn't enter it in the competition. But this looks good and I am happy with this. It is full. It's got a ton of different colors. It's got a beautiful pink, white, and yellow color scheme, and I think it's nice and full. Looks good from 360 degrees. Let me know what you people think down below. I think it turned out really nice. Got some wildflower in there, some weeds, some cosmos, calendula, echinacea, zinnia, Shasta daisy, silver lace vine, 2 different kinds of ferns, some willow branches, sunflower, wild carrot, Queen Anne's lace, gladiolas, calla lilies, annual dahlias. There's just a bunch in here. Butterfly bush. I think it's beautiful.